In this video, I'm going to run you through some of my top productivity tips within Final Cut Pro, and I guarantee you, you will learn something in this video. So let's jump straight into it. So first of all, let's talk about importing clips. Now, the first thing I would always do is, before I actually import anything into Final Cut Pro, is I get my footage looking right on my hard drive. I always edit off an external hard drive. It will make your editing faster. And I tend to have a look through all the clips that we've got off our Sony a7S III or an iPhone, pop them into different folders. So this is our iPhone 13 Pro review. You can see that video by clicking up here, but this is the actual file structure that I use. So you can see I've got cinematic shots, the day 1 iPhone shots, the day 2 iPhone shots, the iPhone 13 review, kind of main footage, macro shots, night mode, and photos. Now, not only does this help organize the clips before we get into Final Cut so I know where they are, there's also a little thing you can do within Final Cut which will help you pull in these folders as they are. So let's get into that. So what I would usually do is I would go to File, New, Library. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create this on the Samsung hard drive we've got here. I've got an iPhone 13 review, and then we're going to put this library within this folder within Final Cut Pro. So let's call this iPhone Test Review, and we're going to hit save. Now, what you want to do here is on Modify Settings, you always want to make sure that you choose that folder to save your footage in. This just means that none of your cached files, your proxy files, are going to be stored randomly on your Mac. You want to make sure they're stored on your external hard drive. This will make your editing much faster. So let's quickly do that now. Okay. Okay, so we've done that. Now we're going to create a new event within this library. You don't have to do this, but I always tend to do this and just make sure my project settings are right there. So this is the iPhone test. Cool, and we've got our new project. Now, we're going to import some clips now. So let's talk about importing media. So here we go. We're going to import media, and let's find this iPhone 13 review folder. There we go, and you can see if I click the drop down there, we've got all those folders here. Now, you really want to pay attention to this import window because this is quite important. What I find, this is a 13-inch MacBook Pro. It's not super duper. I think it's got about 16 gigs of RAM. And I actually find that my Mac edits better if I choose this option up here on the right-hand side, which is Leave Files in Place. If you choose Copy to iPhone 13 Review, you duplicate all of the files. They're already on an external hard drive, so there's not really a great reason for doing that. Next, keywords. You want to make sure you have this ticked. So you can see I've got keywords from Finder tags and from folders, and I'll show you why that's important in a moment. You can also analyze the video for balancing color and finding people. This is quite handy actually, this Find People option. If you are doing, say, interviews, if you're doing shots with two people, what Final Cut can do is it can analyze all of your footage and it can find single headshots, wide shots, shots with 2 people. That's quite good. In this video, I'm not going to tick that, but it's worth looking at. And then secondly, what you want to look at is the transcode options. So as I say, I actually find that my 13-inch MacBook Pro without a big GPU edits fine, just leaving the files in place. If you have an older MacBook Pro, you may want to look at creating proxy media or optimized media. Now, essentially, if you're new to Final Cut, proxy media is a way of creating a much smaller file size to work with. So if you tick that, Final Cut's going to analyze all of your footage. It's going to create new, smaller video files just to use within Final Cut Pro. And that means you can edit on some really old systems, even 4K footage, because it's technically not editing that 4K footage, it's editing these tiny new little files. So try that if you've got an older Mac. So now we're happy with that. I leave everything else ticked off. I'm going to click Import Selected. Okay, so we've imported all of our footage. Now let me show you why it was really good to tick that keyword section. So we've got this event here, and I purposely created a new event just to show you that you can rename this event. So if you hit that, hit the enter, you can just rename this to the iPhone main footage. There we go, and that's how you rename an event. I just wanted to show you that quickly. But if you click the little drop down here on the left, you can now see it's used the keywords from the folders on the hard drive to create searchable folders within your kind of media library here. So you can see we've got the iPhone day 1, the iPhone day 2, the macro shots, the more cinematic and night mode shots. So again, a super productive way of using the folders that you might have already created on your hard drive and bringing them into Final Cut Pro. But there are much more powerful ways to use this keywords feature. Okay, so what you can now do, let's just say I want to create a new selection of clips that are all just the headshots from the video. You know, maybe you didn't create a folder within your hard drive. What you can simply do is right click and then go to New Keyword Collection. Create that, and we're going to call this headshots. Now, as you can see, there's nothing in this kind of keyworded folder. But what you can do, if you go through, you can click on all of your clips that you know are headshots that you can see here from the thumbnail. So let's just click these. And then you can drag and drop these onto your new keyword. So headshots there. Now, this doesn't move any of the clips, as you can see there. But if we now click on headshots, you can see all of the clips that we've selected with the keyword headshots are now in this folder. So a super productive way of organizing your clips. But you can go even further. So with all these keywords selected, if you click up the top here and see the little key icon at the top, you can see you've got these keyword shortcuts, and you can see number 1 we've got T, number 2 we've got churches, and this is brought in from another video. But let's just say I want the number 1 keyboard shortcut to be headshots. Okay. Essentially, how you can use this, let's just go back to our main footage and let's just find another headshot. So we've got this headshot here. Using your keyboard shortcuts, you can hit Control and then either number 1 to 9 on your numeric pad on your keyboard, and this will tag the shot. So if I hold Control and press 1 in headshots, you can now see this has added this clip to our folder. So again, if we go back, let's just say we find another headshot. Let's go to the night mode. If I press Control and 1, boom, this clip has also been added to the headshots. So you can see this is a super productive way of organizing your clips. You can simply hit Control, press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, name all of these, and then boom, you've got these in the folders that you want. Really great way of organizing your clips. But there is more. So next we are going to talk about favorites. So what a lot of editors will do, or newbies to Final Cut, is let's just say I've got this little shot here of Lewis walking through these yellow posts. A lot of people will kind of go in, they'll mark in using the I key, like I say, out point, mark O, and then they'll just sort of drag this onto the timeline. Now this is okay, but it's actually a little bit of a slow way of editing to get started. What I would recommend, let's just delete that out of there. What you want to do is spend a bit of time previewing your clip. So let's just say this is the section of the clip we want to use. Instead of dragging it down or putting it onto your timeline, just press the F keyboard shortcut, and this is the favorite tool. And you'll see here that you've got a little green line, and you can do this multiple times in the same clip. So let's just say I want to use to there, I play it out to there, I can mark out there and favorite that part of the clip too. So I've got 2 favorites and 2 mark in and out points on one clip. Let's just say I want to use this shot here of the water fountain in St. Anne's Square. I can tap I, play that through, press the space bar to stop, mark the out point and press favorite. Now you can do this through all your shots. I'm going to do another one here. And this is just a way of trimming down your kind of big folder of shots that you might have. I'm going to hit F on that. And getting all of the shots that you know you may want to use in the edit. Now, how do you view all of these in one place? Because you can see here it hasn't added a favorite section here. All you need to do is go up to the top right here of your browser and then just go to favorites, or you can press Control F to see this as well. And you can see all of the clips that we have just selected are now in this favorites section. So I think this is a really productive way of kind of organizing your clips before you get them onto your timeline. It just means that if you've got hundreds of clips and you know you probably only want to use maybe 25% of them, you can just spend a little bit of time before the edit, before you get any clips onto your timeline, favorite them, and then you've got this folder here of the correct clips, the best clips that you want to use for your footage. And then you can just make your fine tunes, or you can just drag them all in and you've got like kind of a little mini timeline there ready to go. So that's one little tip there for finding your clips, adding the keywords, and just making that side more productive. Next is getting clips onto your timeline, and there's some really good keyboard shortcuts you can use to get your clips onto the timeline. So instead of marking your in and outs and dragging them on, so I'm just going to mark an in point by pressing the I key. I'm going to mark an out point by pressing the O key. Instead of dragging and dropping the clips on, there's 3 shortcuts you should know about to make yourself much more productive in Final Cut. The first one is the Q keyboard shortcut, and that is the connect clip. And what that's going to do, if you've got any clips already in the timeline, so let's just say I've got these 2 clips here, oops, and these are already in the timeline, you're building up your timeline, and you've got this new clip here. If you press Q, it's going to make it a connected clip. It's going to put it on top of the clips on your timeline at the point of your playhead. So that's one way of getting your clips onto the timeline. The second way is the insert. So let's just say, again, we've got this, it's a photo, but we've got this photo here, and then we press the W key, it's going to insert that clip into the middle of a clip, or between 2 clips as well, where you have your playhead set. So a handy way if you're maybe adding a bit of B-roll and you actually want it to divide a clip and you want to put it between 2 clips, that's the W key and that's the insert key. Next is the append key. So let's just say we've got our shot here. Again, let's use this clip and press E. That's going to add the clip to the end of your timeline. And that's the one I tend to use the most, to be honest. If I'm doing some quick edits and I've got this shot here, I just press E and that goes straight onto the end of your timeline. Of course, this isn't a proper edit, but this just shows you how those 3 keys work. Next up, let's say you've got some shots on your timeline, and in our case, you've got some talking headshots, and this is me talking to camera. Now, you might think on this channel I do okay, but I make a ton of mistakes. I have to do these takes over and over again. So when we come to edit, we have, as you can see down here in the timeline, if I just zoom in down here, you can see there's lots of blank sections. I've said it once, I've messed up, and you know, as like most people, we will go through and edit this out. So there's a couple of keyboard shortcuts that you should know just to make this part of the process much, much faster. So the first keyboard shortcut I want to show you is just a quick way of getting your clip to the start point. So let's just say we can see I've got this empty bit here where I probably messed up, there's a bit of silence, and then I start talking. So all you need to do is hit Alt and this key here, and this is going to bring in your timeline to start at that point. So that's a really handy way of starting your clip. You can also press the Alt key and the right bracket, and that will close the end. Now, if you've got some talking headshots like I've got here, this is a very short shot, but if we're doing a studio piece like I'm doing now, I will make hundreds of mistakes and there'll be hundreds of pauses. So what a lot of people will do, I'm just going to show you on this shot, is they will kind of have the select tool selected, they will hit B for the blade tool, they will make a couple of little chops, they will press A again to go back to the select tool, and it's quite, it's not the slowest way of doing it. I know a lot of people will actually go to the menu here and select it with their mouse. So already you're using a keyboard shortcut, which is great, you're editing a bit faster, but there is a quicker way of doing this. So let's just edit and undo this. So instead of hitting B to go to the blade tool and then back to the select tool, if you want to make some chops, just simply hold the blade tool down, just keep it held down, and then when you let go, it will automatically go back to the select tool. So let's just say I want to chop here, I want to chop here, let go of the blade tool, and you can see it's gone back to the select tool, and we've got this clip here that we can just delete and get out of the way. So just a quick way, if you're in the select tool, hit B, make some chops, boom, 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 let go, and then you can just go through and delete those sections, and you're left with the good parts of the talking headshots. Next up is just a quicker way to view your talking headshots. So when you play back your footage, a lot of people will just play back their footage at normal speed, watch the footage through, and as they're going through, they will make the edits. You know, nothing wrong with that. But there is a faster way. If you press the spacebar and start playing, just use J, K, and L. And if you press L once, this will play at double speed. So as long as the person isn't talking too fast, you can play back your footage at double speed. And this is just a productivity tip that I use. So you can listen, you can hear, it's obviously playing faster and a bit squeakier, but you can hear the mistakes, you can hear the points that you need to cut out. So because this is playing at double speed, essentially you should double or half the time it takes you to edit these shots. Because you're doubling the speed, you're halving your time. Okay, so the next tip is a way of finding clips in your timeline. This works really, really well with titles. So of course, this isn't a full timeline, I'm just showing this as an example. But let's just say you've done an entire video. So when we did the iPhone 13 Pro review, we had tons of titles all the way through. And sometimes you just want to check your spellings, or maybe you want to go to a title and you can't quite remember where it is within the timeline. So this is a simple way. So if you see this box here, it says index, you can tap that and you can use this to search not only things like clip names. So if your clip is say a DJI clip with a number, you can search for that, but you can also use it for title. So I've got 2 titles that I've put in here with cinematic in the text. If I hit that, you can see down the bottom here, if I hit enter, it's now brought up these 2 clips in the index. So if I click one of these, it will actually take you directly to these clips. So it's just a great way, especially if you've got multiple clips, maybe you've got a spelling mistake in there. You know, I do it all the time where I will maybe, you know, miss an E out of cinematic or something stupid. If you type in the mistake, it will obviously find that title. So it's a great way of finding mistakes. But also, if you've got titles and you just want to quickly jump to you know, tip 5. You can type in tip 5 and it will find that shortcut, find that point in your timeline, and then you can go and make that edit using the index tool. Next up is adjustment layers. Now, if you're new to Final Cut, these are a super productive way of editing multiple clips. And how they work essentially, you've got this editor's keys adjustment layer here. I'm just going to drag this down, and let's just say I've got a whole timeline or a whole section of clips where I want to add an effect. So let's just find an effect down here, and let's make something super easy. So let's just do maybe a radial blur, just so you can see this. Now, normally what you might do is drag and drop this on top of the clip, but then what you have to do is either go and copy and paste those attributes, or you have to copy that effect onto every single clip in your timeline. So what you can do, if you put an adjustment layer and drag it on top of your clips. And by the way, if you want a free adjustment layer, check out the link in the description below, because we've got a free one on our site. So if you drag this radial blur onto the adjustment layer, you can see it's affecting the clip as it normally would. But if we drag out the adjustment layer, it's also affecting these clips here too. So I'm just going to take off that effect. You can actually use this for color correction too. So if we go here, make sure you adjust the colors of the adjustment layer, not the clip. So if we go here, let's go to our color wheels, and let's just maybe, just to show you, let's just drag the shadows all the way down so they're really crushed. So you can see that, right? So the shadows are brought right down. If we go to our next clip, you can see where we've got this adjustment layer, the shadows have been brought down. So just a fantastic way of making sure that once your clips are balanced and the colors are right, that you can apply the same looks. Now, what we tend to do here is we will save some adjustment layers out, or save some presets that we can just drag on top of an adjustment layer. And it means your whole footage can be edited all in one go, making it really productive. Now, the next way you can take your adjustment layer to the next level is by using LUTs. Now, you've probably heard LUTs banded around the internet. Maybe you use them. If you are brand new and you've never heard of a LUT before, essentially in its most basic form, a LUT is a little bit like an Instagram filter. So it kind of adds a look to your footage, but you can use these in a much more professional way. Maybe you want to create a LUT for your channel so that your videos all have a uniform look. You can do that. Now, we've got some editor's keys LUTs here. So all you need to do, again, is grab the custom LUT, drag and drop it on top. We are going to select this LUT here, which is the cinematic LUT, and I'm going to let's put on the orange and teal. Now you can see it's quite a deep LUT there. All you need to do is drag the mix down a little bit, and then you can tick it on and off, get it to your liking. I quite like it like that, really crushed and dark. So essentially, if you've got this on an adjustment layer, you no longer have to drag it onto every single clip. You can just extend this out, and as we play through this clip here, you can see it's on. As that adjustment layer ends, it will turn off, of course. And there we go. You've just added a LUT and look to your adjustment layers. So now you've got your whole timeline together and you're happy with your final video. People always ask me about export settings. Now, what are the best export settings for YouTube? Now, to be honest, in the past, I would be able to reel off a load of settings that I thought would be the best for YouTube. But I found recently, if you go to your share settings here and you use the YouTube and Facebook export settings, these turn out really, really well. I've got to be really honest with you. So I always just make sure mine is set to the kind of 4K setting and just change it to better quality. And honestly, I leave it at that. I found with these settings chosen, not only is it fast for you, but it's also fast for YouTube. When you upload a video to YouTube, you may have seen in the past, it sometimes takes a long time to process your video into 4K, or it just changes the quality a lot. You know, you might see that, especially in programs like Premiere, where it can sometimes change the colors. What I found with this is if you use this, it looks exactly how it looks on your Mac, and it processes within pretty much seconds. I've uploaded a video within about 25 seconds, I had the 4K one processed. So I think because this is specifically made for YouTube and Facebook, it's sort of codec, whatever it's doing, the magic in the background means you'll have a really fast upload, which is super handy, especially if you're doing newsworthy pieces. Maybe you're doing a review of something that's come out today. Maybe you're doing a news piece that has to go on some kind of news channel and it has to be out today. I would definitely recommend using the YouTube and Facebook settings. So there you go. I hope this video has helped you become more productive in Final Cut Pro. Now remember, if you want to see any of the things that we talked about, those LUTS adjustment layers, the keyboards, check out our links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check out our other Final Cut videos up here.